Alrighty, we have the finals of this season's A-League division between SamE and Cider01. So, given the current standings, I'm joined by drsteelhammer.
Yeah, hello.
Given the current standings, Cider leads SamE by 1 win, which means that if they end up tied 3-3 at the end of this match, Cider wins the whole shebang. So SamE needs 3.5 out of 6 or better to win the championship.
Yeah, and it's kind of an anniversary for the league, I guess. The 50th
Oh yeah, this is
season,
the big 50.
season at least. Yeah, I don't know if there were 50 championship matches. I don't know like how season 1 worked, but
I have no idea.
but I think it's at least 49, maybe 50 of those as well. And is it possible that Cider is the first representative of the Japanese community who made it all the way here?
I'm pretty sure that's true. I don't know the early seasons of League's results, but to my knowledge, Cider is the first ever Japanese player to be in finals of League. And I believe Japan's got their own league, but Cider just recently joined the main league and is worrisomely good. So he started 3 seasons ago in C League, decisively won C League, moved up to B, decisively won B. Now he's in A, where he only won A by 1 win, but still won the A division. But A's got a championship match, so SamE still has a chance to come back in the finals. Cider's record in League has just been a straight slope upwards. Yeah. SamE, more of a veteran. He's been around a while, longer than I have. He's been in A before for sure. I remember playing him a few seasons back. I want to say he was also in A back in like season 30. So this isn't his first time in A League. It might be his first time in the championship match though. I believe it is.
It could be.
I think this is also the first.
It's won yet.
Yeah. I think this is also the first All Asia Championship match because SamE, I believe, is located in Singapore.
Oh yeah. I think he plays for the American national team, though. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but very early morning, late night for the usual European, North American.
Oh yeah, the schedule is rather inconvenient for most folks that aren't in Japan.
Okay, the 2 players in the meanwhile figured out what happened in the tie of like 3.5 to 2.5, which would put them at the same amount of points combined with the league score.
Yeah, so I think SamE's got this right. Because Cider leads by 1. If the result was 3.5, 2.5 in SamE's favor, they'd be tied, but SamE would win the tiebreaker because he would have won the individual match score.
Apparently, they tied the regular league match then.
Let's find out.
Yeah,
yes, they did in fact.
Yeah.
All right, we got our first kingdom.
Okay, no new cards.
And none of the fancy allies stuff. Looks like a pretty straightforward engine. You got standard $4 villages, some $5 draw cards. You got trashing. You got some attacks. You got plus buy and gains. There's a lot to do.
Yeah. Seems like I think Urchin Militia is generally preferred to Urchin. I'm not sure.
That would be my assumption.
Yeah. I would be surprised with any other opening. Don't think develop sewers will hold a candle to the Urchin.
You
trashing and attacking.
I guess the third option is Urchin Develop with you can get the lucky draw of Develop turn 3 and you top deck an Urchin for turn 4 and then collide it with the Urchin you bought. But yeah, I think I would open Urchin Militia because Militia is an attack card, which means they can trigger the main Urchin effect, which is getting a mercenary. The upside of double Urchin is it's slightly more likely to collide because you have a hand of like 4 coppers and a Militia, definitely no collision. But if it's like 4 coppers and an Urchin, well, the Urchin can maybe draw you the other Urchin. But the upside of Militia is a much better card.
Yeah. Although hitting 5 doesn't seem that important in the first shuffle to me. You're mostly getting Smithy variants or Charm, which you also kind of need deck control. So that would, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Hitting
Make
5
a little
isn't
less
super
impact.
important.
Mhm.
I mean, that being said, hitting 4 does look kind of nice. I'd like to add a village sooner rather than later, especially if you have a militia and a mercenary in the deck. And honestly, double urchin isn't even all that great at hitting 4.
True. That's true, yeah. Should only hit 4 once. And yeah, this also seems like one of the better kingdoms for quest, which usually doesn't see that much play, but you have ample buys and probably some attacks that you don't need to play.
Yeah,
An extra urchin.
I could totally see quest coming into play. In particular, the mercenary, once you've trashed all your junk, is just going to be sitting around in your deck for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe you pick up a develop
Yeah.
at some point for gaining and then also trash your mercenary with that, but you could easily discard a quest to... discard a mercenary 2 quest to get a gold or 2 for payload. Now, having said that, gold also doesn't look amazing as a payload. I mean, you got platinum here, and you got charm, which is looks much better with a lot of the good 5s.
You can develop the golds into the 5s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also 2 stacks of villages, so there shouldn't be any
Yeah.
problems with those.
Yeah, plenty of time to build.
Okay, so we see the militia for SamE, and Cider has 4 now, so needs to decide whether to follow or...
We should find out. You could even open Urchin Black Cat, I guess, is something that we didn't discuss, but could also be on the table. Black Cat's an attack and would trigger mercenary.
Yeah. I don't like it that much.
I think it's pretty fine. Probably a little bit more of a high roll. Like if you collide him turn 3, that's better because you'll end up triggering an early shuffle. But by the same token, that means if you collide him turn 4, it's worse because you'll trigger a shuffle without your. Actually, no, the mercenary would be in the shuffle. Actually, if you collide him turn 4, you would be able to get the mercenary into the shuffle because it.
But yeah,
go ahead.
We just saw develop. We just saw develop paired with militia.
I totally overlooked that. That's curious.
I'm assuming the urchin will come in now here with the develop.
Yeah, I assume that was the basic idea of urchin develop, but with a militia instead, trying to collide them. I would think you could consider turn 3 buying sewers if you know your develops in the turn 4 hand, but SamE went for catacombs, which I don't like very much. Develop militia catacombs is a whole lot of terminals and a deck with no and a black cat.
and a black cat, yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know where SamE expects to get these village effects from. We got a secret supply of villagers stashed somewhere.
Yeah. Cider didn't collide the urchin, so the double urchin didn't. Yeah, it wasn't the nice draw that gets you mercenary in the next shuffle. So I don't think Sam is that far behind, but yeah, it would be very nice to hit 4 here, I guess, in this hand.
Yeah, this is the downside of the double urchin opening, is if they don't collide, it doesn't do a whole lot for you.
Yeah.
The discard attack isn't too impactful early on. So surely SamE buys a village now.
Yeah.
I would have expected Plaza, but Workers Village seems fine as well.
Workers Village seems like a quest thing.
That seems like a good reason to consider Workers Village.
The five action cards in one hand. Turn.
That is a lot,
6.
and he's got to discard one.
Beautiful, yeah, that's unfortunate. But I'm assuming the black cat.
I would think you discard the black cat. A thing I was considering is, what about developing the militia into Catacombs Urchin? Then you get 2 mercenaries. Actually, you'd only get 1 mercenary, but you'd play a Catacombs at the end of all that. Well, apparently Catacombs is on the top anyway. The idea was to play Catacombs and then discard 3, and then you're 6 cards farther into that shuffle and back to your mercenary.
Yeah. So this is a really nice draw, right? You just draw to the end of the shuffle here with Catacombs and Black Cat. So yeah, that's nice to top deck all these.
Yeah, that's what you exactly the hand.
Cider has a 50-50, right? About whether
the
cooperates or not. Um, yeah. These are the kind of games why Urchin has been on my ban list for quite a few years by now, I think. But
Not
yeah,
unreasonable.
I remember those games where you're just sitting with one Urchin in hand and
Yeah.
now you have to.
So Cider did do the responsible thing, which is if you don't collide your urchins on turn 3 and turn 4, I think it's almost always prudent to buy another urchin, or at the very least buy another attack card. This could have been Black Cat or Militia or something, to guarantee that you at least collide them turn 5 or turn 6. But even having done that, he still manages to whiff because the urchin bottom decked. So Cider's luck here is just incredibly bad.
Yeah. I think on ladder you would see a resign now, roughly. Because that just puts you very far behind, but it's also really frustrating in my experience. You did all the right things and still.
Now SamE also is not blazing fast to Mercenary. I think if I were in Cider's shoes and SamE had triggered Mercenary on like turn 3 or turn 4, I'd be thinking about a resign on the ladder. But here, at the very least, you got the fact that SamE is also not getting there super quick.
That wasn't a very good draw either, but yeah, that's how a SamE's deck is supposed to work, I think. So now there's a Mercenary.
Okay, here we go.
The side. Ooh.
Alright, so Cider's finally got a Mercenary. What do you buy here?
Yeah. And the village seems reasonable. You could hope the draw card connects with one of your previous villages, and
so I believe Cider has 2 villages in the deck.
Yeah.
And 1 Black Cat and a Mercenary. I think you could think about Catacombs here.
Yeah, it looks like it, using the coffer.
Yeah. I think late game, Wild Hunt looks like the better draw card for the points. But early on, when you're trying to play that Mercenary as often as possible, the sifting effect that Catacombs gives you looks pretty important.
Yeah, so this is the first Mercenary turn 9, right?
Yeah.
It gets played, so fairly late on both sides.
Yeah, at the very least, they're both a little bit slow to playing Mercenary. Oftentimes, it just snowballs when one player gets to Mercenary much faster.
Yeah. So these will be the remaining estates gone for Sam.
Indeed. Probably
probably not.
Play the Black Cat.
Yeah.
Free. You take your free gold, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, the Urchin can't hurt. Maybe you want a silver anyway. I don't know. 3 doesn't seem inspiring.
I think my vote is Urchin gold. Not that I really want an Urchin all that badly, but
it's a Black Cat.
Yeah. SamE likes having terminal action cards.
Yeah. Don't do Village Idiot anymore in A-League. We play with terminals.
Well, we're the terminal idiots in A-League.
Yeah, so this is also a very pleasant Mercenary play. Gets a second one, makes sense. The Trashing Slate.
Yeah, I think second Mercenary can often make sense if your first one took a while.
Yeah. And with a third Urchin, there isn't really a reason to keep that second Urchin around, basically.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. 3 is just such an uninspiring number compared to 4. I'd love to buy a village. I don't like anything less than 4 all that much.
Might be quest again.
Does the presence of discard attacks lessen the sting of being over-terminaled? I don't think that factors into it for me all that
A
much.
bit, but there are a lot of draw cards, and especially Mercenary, right? Draws you cards, so it's really nice to play Village first, even if you just want to play the Mercenary the turn. Can make your turn a lot better.
Like in thinking of the impact of stop cards on your deck, it's increasing the number of the amount of draw you've got to get through to get to the end of your shuffle. So you got a deck with like 18 cards. It's going to take 3 more draw than a deck with 15 cards. And it doesn't matter whether you're discarding the stop cards or anything mid-turn. You still have to draw them and then and then discard them. And so I think the stop card effect is pretty equivalent, regardless of whether you discard it.
Ace and Militia gets out. I think we draw on here, right?
I would think so.
But yeah, those are a lot of villages, of course. I don't know exactly how many cards are in there. Oh yeah, it Steph predicted the future or the past.
Interesting.
Yeah, predicted the past. It's a goal that
It was not obvious to me that this is better. If you're planning on playing Mercenary anyway, why keep the Militia?
Maybe wasn't sure whether the Mercenary gets played here.
It looks like it's guaranteed, because either the top 3 or the bottom 3.
And of course, it's a gold generating card here with 3 workers' villages. I think you can do all the quests you want. So I kind of see that that the golds are a bit more expendable. And yeah, usually 4 costs are of course nice when there's a usable 3 cost, but those don't look that appealing. Of course, the urchin doesn't hurt, but yeah. I'm expecting the Mercenary to be played here. I'm not super sure, but yeah, you could draw the gold.
I would be pretty surprised if we don't see the Mercenary get played.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be funny if the Militia gets trashed now, but I don't expect that to happen.
And I don't think I'd trash the Militia here.
Yeah. So this looks like it could use another village, right? We see.
Yep.
Some more draw cards here.
I'm still not convinced by keeping this Militia. Like, imagine that this hand had the gold in it instead of the Militia. You could buy 2 villages, and you'd still get a gold by discarding Black Cat.
Yeah, I can see both ways.
And you can regain the Militia later off and develop if needed.
I think Sam now has 1 copper starting cards remaining, and Cider still has a lot of yellow and green.
So yeah, Cider's got an estate left and all the coppers. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, he's got 2 mercenaries, so he'll make short work of that. That's like 2 turns of mercenarying.
If they cooperate.
Oh.
Which they do this turn, so
I assume Cider's got more villages down there, which makes me think you play the catacombs first here to make sure you find one. I haven't actually verified that Cider has more villages, but
there should be 1 more, at least 1 or 2 workers villages. Yeah, Sam just said 3 workers villages, bought a 4th one, I think. So
ooh, that's a nice pitch.
They could be all drawn, but that's also the first quest for Cider here.
Yeah, Cider seems pretty behind to me.
Okay, he wants to draw the copper, so that's 1 less gold.
On my mind right now is develop, I think. In terms of getting a bunch of stuff into your deck real fast, develop's pretty good at that.
Yeah.
I'd seriously think about maybe develop catacombs, gain a gold. Maybe develop wild hunt, gain a gold.
Yeah, it's not that straightforward to me what you can do with the develop. Seems difficult to
Ideally,
manage.
something like killing catacombs
Really.
into
Oh
nice
yeah, that's
stuff.
and catacombs is pretty nice.
Snowbiz? I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry. Snobes? Um, the person in chat asked, why would Wild Hunt be better than Catacombs? Well, Wild Hunt is, I think, better late game because it scores you a bunch of points. It's alt VP, which is something. Catacombs is better early. We were talking about this at the very beginning of the game. Certainly, Catacombs is the first one you click on because when you don't have full deck control, that reliability is really nice. The question is just whether or not you think that your deck is under control enough that you don't need the effect that a third Catacombs provides in terms of avoiding duds.
But I like the developed catacombs synergy as well here.
Yep,
So
that's also
getting
something.
you.
Yeah, good point.
So I think at the moment I would prefer that effect. So the bottom part of catacombs. That's why I like it better than Wild Hunt at the moment. But that's of course assuming you get to develop, which hasn't happened yet. So
Indeed. I mean, Quest is also not terrible, I suppose, to adding payload pretty fast. So there's that. Maybe you just buy another village and some black cats. I don't know.
okay, so this is well, two plazas. Okay.
That seems too conservative to me. Like if you weren't behind and you just added two villages, I wouldn't hate it. But I feel like Cider has some catching up to do, and that's not a play that's gonna escalate your deck very quickly, even if it makes you very unlikely to dud.
Yeah, this I would agree. It's fairly conservative, and I would put Sam quite ahead at the moment. So
I also agree with Steph that the plazas have severely diminishing marginal returns once you add a bunch of them. Like a plaza or two to give coffers can be nice because just having a few coffers helps smooth your price points out and make sure you're not missing by like one on any key buys. But beyond that, I would think the plus buy of Workers Village is a lot more valuable in terms of pile out threats, accessing quests, stuff like that.
yeah, and the piles are definitely a concern here with develop and catacombs. So I would expect at least to be a threat of a pile out. So the workers villagers help a lot. Could be like the famous 8 by 16 coins state pile out.
Yep.
Could definitely be a thing here. Workers villages will go and probably something else.
Yeah, I could totally see estates running. Develop is also very good at piling out. You can mid-turn gain develops, which then gain more stuff. You can combine that with catacombs, and piles can run real fast. I think I concur with Steph's suggestion of 2 villages and 2 golds.
Yeah. Catacombs is top decked with develop, so
maybe a plaza and a
like,
workers village.
I like adding villages here. And yeah, Sam is not lacking payload, so yeah.
Yeah, I like the 2 villages for SamE a lot more than for Cider because SamE's already got plenty of good stuff in the deck. They develop a bunch of golds. You've got the payload to work with. I think I would take those cards actually. Yeah, you want to play your mercenary next.
Yeah. I mean, Cider won't have a problem drawing deck here.
Yeah.
So won't worry too much about it, but yeah. You can probably discard with Plaza here, even a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not super sure.
I'm gonna guess yes, you discard. If I were in Cider's shoes, I'd count that up more carefully. Maybe.
Yeah. They will know better how many cards they draw. But yeah, that. Yeah.
It sure is looking like they'll make it.
Yeah, here we see we have lots of villages, but not much to do with them anymore. So yeah.
So here you discard the. Actually, no, you don't. I was about to say you discard the gold plaza, but that's actually you wouldn't quite get back to the gold. I think you want to not play the black cat so that you can quest it.
Yeah, also think it's double quest time for Cider, and hopefully buying a draw card. Then again, you also kind of want develop still, probably.
Yeah, I still like develop.
I guess you can discard the gold and then merc 2 coppers and draw.
Oh yeah, there is exactly enough draw. Oh, these are both coppers down here. So you can discard the gold with this plaza or the next plaza, either plaza, and then it's fine.
But of course, playing the mercenary here means you can't quest it.
I mean, as Cider, I'd like to get rid of these last few coppers, so I'd plan on playing the. Oh, I don't like discard. Oh, I don't like this at all. Yeah.
You can also.
This is gross.
The black cat at the urchin. So
this seems way worse than the lines we were considering.
I don't hate it too much. I think yeah, trashing the coppers to next turn can also. Oh, okay, never mind.
So
now I'm on board with not liking.
Basically, this just means that Cider passed up on a free gold because they played the black cat when they didn't need to, and they could have discarded that to quest.
Yeah, that's true.
What are the thematic implications here? So you go on a quest that involves you renting out your cat for gold. You're not like sacrificing it outright because you get it back at the end.
Yeah, maybe the cat finds something hidden.
You take the cat on the quest and then you find a gold and then you come back with it.
Yeah, cats have good eyesight, right? Spot something for you.
Hey, I mean, a black cat's bad luck. You should be coming back with something like a copper.
Isn't gold bad luck?
That's a good point. You got me there. And it all makes sense. It was very, very well designed. It's Minions deep on theme.
In the meanwhile, we saw platinum, so more shiny things.
Platinum.
Also didn't quite expect that.
I don't know how I feel about the platinum.
There was still the catacombs develop line possible. That we liked last turn.
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I don't like the platinum. That's a lot of money to invest in payload when there's just much cheaper ways to get payload between quest and develop. Like that's $9 that could have gone to a village and a draw card.
Yeah, gold is so cheap here that yeah.
Charm.
So, especially Cider won't play mercenary, right? This anymore. Maybe one more time. So develop could also get you militia mid-turn. So I'm assuming you want to discard attack. Maybe the urchin attack is fine, but
I believe Cider has an awkward number of junk cards left in the deck. If I'm not mistaken, they have no coppers left, but they have 2 mercenaries. This is a scenario where sometimes I think you could find yourself buying a copper because you want to trash one mercenary with the other, but mercenary, obligatorily trashes 2 at a time. And so you just want to buy a second junk card just to play the mercenary to trash mercenary plus another junk is a thing to consider.
That's true. Although you can send both mercenaries on a quest for you, so...
Yeah, I mean, you could just keep them both around if you want to throw in 2 golds per turn.
So in the meanwhile, we also saw Charm, which is kind of interesting. Can gain in the mid game, I guess, like 2 5-cost draw cards.
Charm, frankly, seems better than Platinum to me. Like when you consider that it's probably gaining 5 cost, it's like 5 coins and a buy, which is Platinum plus and for less money.
Yeah, this turn it gained a village. I think Cider might feel a bit backed into the corner and try to green early, so of course for that platinum would be better.
My impression of Cider historically is that Cider used to love greening early. I don't know if that's still true, but I recall playing him like 2 years ago, and he would go for like wandering winder levels of money strategy. I don't know if times have changed. That's good to hear.
Yeah. No early greening. And what is the resigning time? Do we have information on that?
Yeah.
This is a really sad draw.
This looks pretty resignable. I would not begrudge Cider if they wanted to throw in the towel here. I mean, you can play it out longer. It's in the league championships, but it seems unlikely to result in a Cider victory at this point.
Of course, we all wanted the third Smithy variant and didn't get it, so
Wild Hunt.
now it comes at a time.
Yep.
Also, okay, Sam's turn is saved.
The other thing to think about... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say one fewer cat to quest, but...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know that you need to like maximize the total number of golds here, because there's probably such a thing as too many golds, even with a lot of draw. I wouldn't worry too much about the cats, but there is something to be said for trying to play Catacombs and Wild Hunt over Black Cat when you can.
Yeah, usually one gold a turn gets cut into, or developed rather, into a...
Oh, you know what would be funny? So you could play Wild Hunt during your action phase to gain the estate to get victory points, and they could trigger their Black Cat off of that, which would draw them a bunch of cards. Yeah. But then you could follow up by playing the Militia after the Wild Hunt to undraw all the cards.
Yeah. Funny. It's also quite hard to keep Black Cats in hand when you get Militia.
Yep, that's true. Presumably we're top decking a draw card here with the develop.
Yeah.
I mean, the Catacombs looks really juicy, so you could consider, playing developing the Catacombs and then drawing the gold off the top with the Black Cat. I wouldn't want to develop the Catacombs and then not play a draw card because I don't want to leave a gold on top. But I think the best line here probably is just developing a gold to top deck a draw card.
Yeah. How close would we be to piles then?
I don't think that either side has a pile threat yet. Maybe SamE could pile next turn. His deck does a decent amount.
Yeah, so Catacombs would be the next to Workers Village would be the two obvious targets.
Yeah, Catacombs and Workers Village seem pretty doable. I'm not sure what the third pile is imminently, but maybe you got a lot of buys here, so maybe with the right set of aggressive buys, you could threaten to pile out.
Yeah, but I think SamE's pretty free besides recklessly piling to do. I don't think I would even hate like single provincing and buying 2 villages or whatever. I think that would still be fairly winning.
Yeah, I think SamE, it would be hard to not be winning at the end of this turn. I'm considering whether buying 7 curses would put SamE behind or not.
Yeah.
It might. He's only the one mercenary.
But would it be a play for multiple questing next turn?
Yeah. So to return to something from earlier with the mercenary consideration, part of the value of buying like a copper in that theoretical spot for Cider is Cider doesn't actually have a militia and doesn't have a way to mid-turn gain a militia. And so the discard attacks are running out for a Cider. Playing the mercenary has less appeal if you have a militia, or even have a develop that can gain a militia, but Cider is not getting in the attacks. Here I would think you probably kill Merc and Urchin.
Yeah, you can.
Honestly, the attack doesn't matter. Like SamE's probably going to draw regardless, but as Cider, you sure do need a dud.
Yeah, you can also just Cider can also buy a colony and then anticipate the curse from Black Cat to trash then the next turn. Yeah, so SamE did the 2 villages colony thing, right? Yeah. So now the players are Catacombs and Plaza Art 4. I don't know, with 1 developed, it's probably hard to end the game with, but yeah, probably it will end on colonies then in a couple turns.
I would not be too surprised if SamE could do Catacombs and Plazas here. I mean, depends on what the Cider scores, which very well might in this position.
It's also kind of interesting that Cider only got 3 workers' villages, so it's not even that easy to quest here, because for buys, you need to buy some cards.
Yeah, I think Cider hit the plazas a little bit too hard, and here it's coming back to bite him.
Yeah, so there's the curse with the colony. Wild Hunt, okay.
That's some nice cards to see.
Looks pretty good. Also, SamE's drawing fairly quickly, so I'm assuming just wants to draw a deck and buy green cards and not.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, top deck's a Wild Hunt here, okay.
I don't know.
On, right?
But like you've got maybe he's just really insistent on questing these black cats. I would have thought that you wait until later in the turn to play the develop and potentially look for pile out threats rather than gaining an early Wild Hunt off of it. And then it seems a little odd to me.
Yeah.
Especially if we're not even playing the Wild. Like if you were gaining it, I thought I was like, oh, I'm imminently going to play this Wild Hunt and I want it right now. I don't understand why we decided at that particular point to gain a Wild Hunt that we're saving for the end of the turn anyway.
I'm assuming they take the points here.
It does look like that, yeah. So key order here is Wild Hunt before Militia. Actually, there's merit to the Militia line too. Maybe they discard their Black Cat when you play the Militia. So there's some upside of playing Militia first, but I think the clear better order is Wild Hunt before Militia, because negating their Black Cat seems much more viable.
Oh, yeah.
Not that it mattered, because Cider had no Black Cats in hand. And only has 1 in their deck, I think, entirely.
Yeah, I see 3 ones here. Don't think any are in the trash, yeah. So that's 1.
So is it realistic that SamE could have piled out? Looking at 22 money, which on the face of it seems short.
I mean, if we develop a Catacombs, I think it's tough.
So you something like develop a Catacombs into Plaza Gold, gain a develop, and then develop Plaza into Catacombs develop, and then develop the Catacombs back into Plaza. I don't know if you have enough overdraw and actions for all of that, but like you have the theoretical gains, surely.
Yeah, we have 2 actions left now, so if we we develop a Plaza to gain another develop, it would be really tough with the actions, I think.
Yeah, you might have needed to play the Plaza, but then you don't have to play the Militia, so maybe you gain that Plaza and play it, and then you develop the Militia instead. There could have been a pilot there. I wouldn't be surprised if there were. Not that you really need to look for one as SamE, because you're in a decisive lead anyway.
Yeah. And this was an interesting point here, like how many quests you should do here. I thought like 2 would put you comfortably at a double colony, so the third one looked dubious to me. Steph didn't like that many. So yeah. But this is also another dot for Cider, so
yeah. I think it is plausible that the gold should not have been gained.
I mean, we're playing the mercenary here, right? But
I would play the mercenary. Well, it's between play mercenary and just click resign immediately. Both seem
I guess
reasonable.
I guess this could also deny you a colony if you actually play the mercenary, but oh yeah, the gold pile out. We haven't considered that one. They're 12, so
I'm getting there.
yeah, okay. I mean, if Cider wants to play on, I'm assuming they're like calculating the chances whether I draw a money card with trashing. Okay, but yeah, I think. Oh, oh no, no.
I'm really
Okay,
confused now.
yeah,
If you're just
then
buying
it's
Wild Hunt
easy
anyway,
mercy.
then surely you trash the gold and the curse if you're just going to buy a Wild Hunt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steph seems to have some personal experience about Cider and not resigning. I may have played Cider this season, and I actually have no recollection of whether he resigned any of them.
So you want some? Right.
Yeah,
Did I hear
I
that
think we
out?
went 3-3.
Okay. Again, this seems like a fairly quick playthrough. So I'm just expecting like double province or something again, and not that much looking for pileouts, but maybe I'm wrong since they're stopping here now.
You got enough money that Plaza Catacombs looks eminently plausible here. And eminently catacombsable. My immediate suspicion is develop militia into develop catacombs, then develop catacombs into Plaza Gold, and you're probably to pile out.
Yeah, this discarding golds for coffers is, I think, a strong indication that there won't be a pile out, and just yeah, coffers.
Yeah, I'd rather be using that overdraw towards develop gaining and playing things. I still suspect he's probably got a pile out here. Oh, he's calling it.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe Cider already saw the pile out in his mind, so.
Yeah. Cider calculated it for SamE.
Yeah.
Okay, so game 1 to SamE as player 1, but now Cider gets to go first.
Yeah.
Ooh, new allies
nomad.
cards. Actually, just the one, right? So we got Underling is the action liaison, +1 card, +1 action, +1 favor. That's the brand new landscape from allies. In this kingdom, the favors can be spent on Band of Nomads. And for every favor you've got, when you gain a card costing 3 or more, +1 card, or +1 action, or +1 buy. So, go ahead.
Yeah, there's you can gain with Explorer mid-turn. I think that's the only...
Beggar.
Yeah, beggar on your opponent's turn, that's true.
No, on your turn, you gain coppers.
Doesn't have to cost 3 or more.
Oh, you're right. I'm still learning these cards. Yeah, so my impression of Band of Nomads is if you're using it on your buys, it is almost always with an asterisk, only being used for +1 buy, and it's just like a de facto bankable plus buy. I think the real interesting stuff with Band of Nomads, what you were suggesting, is if you use it on your mid-turn gains, like off of a workshop type thing, the +1 card, +1 action is a much stronger effect, and there's just not a whole lot here to mid-turn gain with.
But I think it's fine if you kind of want goals right here with Chariot Race and stuff. You get buys, so non-terminal Explorer or.
I haven't even looked at the rest of the kingdom. I don't even know what I want to do yet. Yeah. I'm still fascinated with the ally.
Yeah, I don't think the ally is that sad here. You can do stuff with it.
Yeah, I think the Band of Nomads actually looks kind of crucial to me in a number of regards. The most obvious is it's the only plus buy, so you're going to use the plus buy anyway. And the other thing that comes to mind is maybe you want to play 2 Explorers at some point, in which case you could trigger plus action off the first one to play 2 of them.
Yeah. So, yeah.
What did they open with?
like my 3 underling games or whatever, it's fairly often that you just buy like 2, but here, yeah, they seem
I said
okay
2
to me. So
explorers, Steph. do you have a problem with my double explorer line?
yeah, we're questing, we're exploring. That's the theme of today's championship match.
I'm pretty sure I just played double explorer versus Haka in like the last 24 hours.
Here we see the first band of nomads and the first underling gained.
So yeah, Fisherman sometimes triggers band nomads and sometimes does not. It's pretty funny.
So I'm just expecting the buy for SamE here as well. Buy like with an underling and then maybe experiments, maybe. Yeah, probably not the second underling immediately.
I'm not sure how I feel about Cider's opening. So SamE opened Fisherman Research, which obviously was not available to Cider because he had the 4-3 rather than the 3-4. The experiments don't seem super important to me. Like, opening experiment to me implies that there's a stronger 5 in the kingdom, like, I don't know, trading post or recruit or something, where you want to get back and play that 5 ASAP more than you want to put a card that has long-term value in your deck. And I don't think that's really true here at all. I'm not dying to play the 5s imminently. And so I would have thought, I don't know, maybe underling or something. I mean, I don't hate the experiments. The experiment's fine, but it just seemed a little odd to me.
I think the alternatives are also fairly sad. Because Cider is that early, underling that early. So, yeah. Did we talk about how sad Ride is in this kingdom?
Ride.
Well, because that one.
Ride, it's the cheapest thing that can trigger Ban of Nomads, because you're only paying 2 and you're gaining a 3, so there's that.
That's fair. But yeah, with Experiment and the Border Guard on 2 in the kingdom, it feels a bit superfluous.
So what's the costing wording that we're referring to? Is this on Fisherman?
Yeah, they're talking Fisherman, Band of Nomads.
Card costing 3 or more. So I guess the ambiguity here that is being discussed is at what time you're checking the cost of the card being gained. So if I'm interpreting this right, I might very well might not be. What Steph is suggesting is that Ban Nomad says costing, which implies that it cares about the present cost of the card, but it actually checks the cost of the card sort of retroactively when you gained it. So like if you paid 2 for a Fisherman, and then it goes to your discard, and then it ends up costing 5 because now there's a card in your discard, Ban Nomad cares about the fact that it cost 2 and you bought it rather than before you gained it.
Okay, yeah, I'm kind of glad it works that way because it feels like intuitive that, okay, I pay 2 for this Fisherman and then Band of Nomads doesn't do its thing because it needs to cost 3 or more. So
I think I would expect it to care about the cost when it's in the discard. Like you gain the card and now you resolve the effects. I look at the Fisherman and I'm like, oh, it costs 5 right now.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know.
If you played with first-time Dominion players.
I have no idea.
I wouldn't predict, but,
yeah.
Maybe that's a discussion that's going a bit off the rails.
There's a game going on, isn't there? Things have happened.
Yeah.
I don't know what things have happened, but something's happened.
Yeah, they're researching quite a bit.
That makes sense to me. Research seems like a good early game thinner, and thinning is kind of important here. But actually, no, thinning's pretty important. I was gonna say thinning's kind of important because like there's technically Chariot Race, but honestly, more than technically, I think Chariot Races look reasonably good. Like if your opponent didn't thin, the plus buy is not that hard to acquire. Like Underknown is like a little market square, and so you could put a bunch of Chariot Races in your deck to punish someone who didn't thin.
Yeah, I would absolutely go for the Explorer Chariot Race thing here. Okay. More experiments. I don't really like those. That does seem...
Yeah, I'm still not a fan of the experiments here. I mean, experiments a good card, but this doesn't seem like the kingdom where I really want experiments all that badly. Like that's really I've got a few key cards like a butcher or something, and I want to get back around to play my butcher a bunch, and that's not what's going on here.
You know, I don't know if it's ever relevant, but it's kind of funny that you gain 2 experiments, so you can use Band of Nomads twice in your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, what?
I don't know how it could possibly matter, but
Well, so what if you need to buy like 3 estates or something, and you've got a bunch of favors banked up? Well, if you bought a 3-cost card, you could spend a favor to get the buy back, but that's not net increasing your number of estate buys. But if you had like infinite money and favors and needed to buy estates, you could buy a bunch of experiments, trigger plus buy twice per experiment, and then net increase your plus buy each time you did that.
yeah, that's the way. Yeah,
So there's definitely scenarios where that could theoretically matter.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, of course, if there were midterm gains, then would be kind of interesting.
Oh yeah, for mid-turn gains, it could actually be really interesting. Like your workshops could be villages because you trigger the plus action twice.
Yeah, exactly. Or you draw. It's a hill fort. Any combination of the two.
Yeah, workshop becomes a moat.
Yeah. So okay. By the way, we've seen the first Explorer, so that's that.
Indeed, we have. It seems like a reasonable time for it. Like I'm looking at Cider's deck, and they're just now getting to the end of their deck, which suggests that now's a good time to add payload, which Explorer does. I'd be looking at a second Underling right now because it looks like you're gonna want more plus buy, maybe Underling Laboratory.
And I thought Underling double trade race maybe, but I also kind of like the second research he has got because those coppers, they can get in the way of the trade race.
Yeah. So let's see. If you did Underling double trade race, do you draw all of this? You've got 5, 6, 7 stop cards, and you got a lab. I think you're 1 draw short. Is that right? I believe you need to buy a lab to get to the end of your deck here.
Okay.
If you're a Cider.
Do you need to get to the end of the deck?
Yeah, I mean, it's not imperative or anything, but...
Because nomads can also like draw you treasure. That you bought. You can't play them if you buy treasures. Okay, so there's the lab and the second research. Okay, so no other underling.
The second research, so Steph's opposed to it, and like research is not bad at thinning coppers because you can play it every turn.
I mean, with Explorer, it feels okay to me, but
yeah, I think I'm on Steph's side. I'm just thinking about like you're adding 1 stop card per turn here. I think for a while, which is just whatever your Explorer gains, and you're trashing a copper. I mean, I guess once you start greening, you have a bit of a problem. I don't hate the second research. I think it's reasonable, but I think I wouldn't have taken it. SamE seems behind. I gotta be honest, I've been tunnel vision on Cider. Classic player 1. Oh, we can switch the player view now. I clicked on SamE's name, and now I'm looking at SamE's perspective. And so, big update with the new client. So let's look at this from SamE's POV. So crucially, SamE does not have an Explorer yet.
Yeah, but they have a chariot race.
And they have overdraw, which suggests Explorer is really imperative here. Explorer Chariot or Explorer Underling, I think are the 2 things I would think about.
Yeah. Cider, of course, keeps buying experiments,
which
don't help in the long term. So
really in the short term either. I mean, if you had a lab, you're drawing your deck anyway. I don't think they even needed the experiments for the short term. Yeah. Well, if you're buying research, then I guess maybe you do, because research in the short term is a stop card.
The straw here.
Yeah.
Just do that to prove to us why experiments. Okay. Yeah, this could be a silver trash as well. Yeah, right, with the research.
I would trash silver in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't hate the province.
Province, it's kind of funny because like your immediate reaction would normally be, why would you province right now? But actually, province is payload here because it lets your explorers gain golds. Yeah, I totally see taking one province and then going back to building.
Yeah.
Golds are actually a good card to have in this. Well, golds would be a good card to have in this deck if we had more chariot races. But at the very least, they block your opponent's chariot races.
Yeah, and you will can gain them easily, right? If you have 12 money. And I mean, the second underling would be kind of required. But yeah.
Cider taking Silly Potter's advice.
Oh, yeah.
What do we got here? 9 money, a lab, and a fisherman, lab and underling, lab and chariot. One of those three, I think. Oh, you actually can't do fisher. Now, you could do fisherman lab. You would just need to trigger the plus buy off of the silver gain from explorer. Oh, wait, no. You can trigger it off of lab. No, you can't trigger it. I'm going back and forth. You do need to trigger it off of explorer because you have to buy fisherman before lab. But if you buy fisherman first, fisherman will have costed 2 when you bought it. Or before you gained it, which means you can't trigger Band of Nomads.
I kind of like three costs, like 1 underling, 2 chariot races, but I can see the province first.
I could get behind that, or maybe. I mean, fisherman seems like a pretty efficient way to add payload. Maybe fisherman, underling, chariot race. Again, that would still require triggering the favor off of the explorer.
Fishermen, of course, are quite bad for the chariot races because you've.
Oh, that's a good point. Actually, you're making me second guess my fisherman suggestion. Maybe fisherman's not so good, and chariot race just kind of counters it.
Okay, so we just double research copper, right?
I would think so, and then
then we'll see how much money we have.
Pretty sure I'm buying a province and something here as cider.
13, right? So yeah, province and anything you like.
And laboratory probably.
I could also, of course, here buy a ride and a 3 cost. Of course, only one more favor to spend, so it can't be spamming chariot races or anything like that. So it's fairly. Could also be a second explorer, right? Getting golds.
I hear the double explorer play is a really strong one. Uh-oh, sad draw for SamE.
Has a favor stored, fortunately. So yeah, of course it's not a full turn, but it's not like the worst either, I think.
It's a shame that you can only trigger one of the effects off of Band of Nomads. Otherwise, you could like cantrip the Explorer to try to draw one. Taking card action. I was thinking at some point you want a second underling so that the plus buys end up being less limited, but both of them are playing with just a single one.
Did anyone ever play Groom Band of Nomads? For more cantrip stuff.
Groom Band of Nomads. That sounds like a decently good interaction. I mean, Groom's just good with everything, but that does sound good.
Learned it here first. Heard it here first.
Here, setting new trends.
So here I'm sad that I only have 1 favor, but I've said second underling for quite a while, and we're piling labs, I guess, and buying provinces.
I don't love a lot of the minor decisions that both players have made. I mean, like, broadly speaking, this is obviously the right strategy, but I think that these buys could have been a little bit better at various points.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, Cider stack probably double provinces next turn, and then if he does it again, all the trade races in the world are
Yep.
probably not good enough.
Yeah.
So maybe there's value to just play with one underling and a smooth double province thing. Okay, yeah. And Cider is definitely winning the silver split. So
how much do we have here? This is just shy of double. Could have gotten there with one more chariot race activation. Or I actually don't know what this bottom card is. Maybe that could have gotten you there as well. Is this double? What am I missing?
Steph playing with another Band of Nomads version.
Well, the province costs 6. It's a big 6 right in the middle of it. Silly Potter wants Fisherman Lab Province. I think I don't like that, mostly because you've only got this one underling, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I would really like to. Actually, is that even? Yeah, I'd like to conserve the underling favor. I think for the possibility of needing 3 buys in a future turn, where maybe you need to triple duchy or something.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the Fisherman isn't required to hit 16 or 15. As long as you find the Explorer.
Right. Yeah, you'll be increasing your payload each turn from here on out. Like, you could trash both of these coppers and still hit 16 next turn, provided you gain a gold. Actually, you can't trash both these coppers because you've only got one research. Where's this bottom card of research? Is that what that bottom card is?
Yeah. There are 4 researches around. Okay.
SamE has 2 researches. Yeah, the bottom card appears to be a research.
It's the Whisperer and predicts correctly what.
Is it that Silly Potter predicts correctly, or is it that Cider and SamE are just reading the chat and copying whatever Silly Potter tells them to do?
Yeah, they're just playing both sides. Okay, so this is also not the whole deck in hand.
It is not.
Time to ditch the research.
Yeah, again, research with no hesitation here.
Yeah. And it's still 15 money, I think.
15 sounds plenty. You don't really need... I mean, double here wouldn't necessarily be bad for Cider, but I think single seems fine. SamE can't triple, and so if both of you are threatening to double, I think 3 is the number of provinces you want to leave it at. Kind of like you would leave it at 2 provinces in a single gain kingdom.
SamE can't also double, and since there are no favors, can't buy province duchy, can't triple duchy. So SamE's in a tough position, I would say.
I would agree. So what is your second buy as Cider? You could buy experiments here if all you think you need is to double next turn. Actually, no, you don't need experiments. You just researched 4 cards. Probably just province duchy. you get 2 labs set aside.
Yeah, I think the deck will be drawn next turn.
Yeah. Or even province underling, maybe, if you just wanted the extra buy. But yeah, province duchy seems like the simplest thing to do, and that should be more than winning.
Yeah. Okay. Also, this is a time to resign for SamE, I think. I think needed at least the chariot points and nice buy. Didn't even hit underling, so this isn't even double duchy, so you can buy province and pray, but I don't know who you're praying to if like a reset annoying card hand for Cider, so
Game 2 goes to Cider, back to 1-1. What would it
Yeah,
counterfactually? It'd be real nice if you could gain wishes off of ride. Then you could have activated them via beggar.
sorry, I couldn't follow. If you get wishes from the ride?
You know the old idiom: if wishes were
Oh.
horses, beggars could ride.
Oh. Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that idiom, but yeah.
Yeah, it was written with Dominion in mind. I'm sure.
Maybe it inspired Dominion.
Probably. Yeah, or maybe Donald X built Dominion around the idioms.
Could be. Is there a dead card before the horse joke somewhere? Already?
There's got to be. We'll see if we can roll Death Cart Kingdom, and then we'll have time to contemplate it.
So we're going back to SamE as first player. Yeah. Right.
Indeed. No new allies cards here.
Yeah.
This is kind of interesting. So we got, I think, two options stick out to me. Probably what you end up doing, I think, is just minion draw. When you could play like markets or stewards or something like that. Alternatively, you could actually draw with Forum and Village Green. Every Village Green discarded with a Forum is essentially a laboratory. So that's also an option. And that plays better with, some of the treasure-based payload if you wanted to do that. Plus, Village Green kind of counters Minion in a way because their minions will trigger any Village Greens in your starting hand. So there's something to be said for that. I think the minion draw is probably more efficient.
That's interesting. I would lean the other way, I think. Yeah, actually.
Interesting. I hope you're right. I hate Minion. I don't want Minion to be right. So I'll be very happy to be proven wrong.
I share your dislike of Minion, and
it's
also one of the most frustrating cards sometimes.
I finally got around to adding it to my dislike list. So the upside of Forum, as Furkel has pointed out, is it definitely gives you a lot more flexibility in terms of your payload. Like you can put your whole deck in your hand and then do fancy stuff with Forge. You can play with some of the treasure cards like Treasure Trove or Fool's Gold, and all that's really nice. The upside of Minion, I think, is it's just a lot more efficient in terms of draw. Oh, actually,
I don't like the payload of it.
Yeah, with Steward, actually, maybe. Steward also is a draw card on its own right. Yeah, actually, I'm gonna take it back. I think I'm on your side. Forum, Village Green. With Steward as an additional moat is probably sufficient draw to make Minion not worth it here. Yeah. In my head, I was just thinking like just Forum Village Green is your only draw, and that was kind of like an expensive lab. But with Steward, I just overlooked that. Okay, yeah.
At first, I looked only at Village Steward and didn't consider Forum draws.
You would think the like moat village is the obvious thing, but I had a little bit of a brain fart there.
A nice use of delay here from SamE.
Oh, they're clicking cards fast. I'm getting behind.
Yeah, of course, a bit unlucky that the Stewards collided. So I think Cider is probably, I don't know, ahead, but at least caught up a bit.
Yes.
Second.
I think Cider's got the better of the two draws. I like the double Steward opening. Two things stick out. First is that there's good 2 costs. Steward is a card that I think looks a lot better when there's a good 2 cost in the kingdom, because if you got a 5-card hand with Steward, you trash 2 junk, you got 2 coppers left, you're likely hitting 2 and buying something, in this case Fool's Gold. Yeah. And then the second... Oh, yeah, go.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
And then the other thing making double Steward look attractive here is delay. So if they collide, you can delay them. Now, SamE got the bad version of that, which is if you collide turn 3, you're totally fine because you can trash turn 3 and turn 4. Them colliding turn 4 isn't quite as good.
Yeah, and it costs you a Fool's Gold buy. Now Cider's 3 Fool's Gold buys 2 5 costs here, and SamE just got the first. So even this turn's probably just buying 2 Fool's Gold, I guess. But you can't buy anything expensive and a Fool's Gold, I don't think. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so Cider seems ahead by a good margin.
Yeah. Probably already really hard to come back from, actually. I was very conservative on turn 5 here, but this looks almost insurmountable to me.
What are these bottom two cards for Cider? I'm gonna guess it's a steward and a junk card, a copper, steward copper. I'd probably just draw that off the top.
Yeah, and yeah, I would buy Market Forum. Fool's Gold sounds
Yeah, I like that.
great. I want the market for sure. Fool's Gold is nice. Forum is free, so yeah. And you can probably also like delay one steward here fairly soon if you have enough markets.
Yep. Or even just discard it. You got a lot of ways to deal with that second steward at this point.
I mean, delay gives extra reliability. That's what I wanted to get at. Not that I want the steward out of the deck. So is this 7? Yeah, right. You need to go market steward full steward. Yeah, I think that's right. The one upside SamE has is that he has a village, so you can play 2 stewards. But that's yeah.
Take our silver linings where we can find them. This looks pretty over.
Very, very, very grim silver lining. Yeah. It's always a good feeling if you don't have enough buys for all your money that you draw. You can keep buying some markets.
So what do we buy here? Definitely another market. Probably Forum and Delay Steward, and then you have one more buy.
Yeah, it sounds nice. Could also consider Village Green to increase hand size, but it doesn't probably not really necessary.
You could consider Village. Yeah, I mean, Village Green's not bad here. You'll need it for not the next turn, but the turn after when you haven't delayed a steward. And on this turn, it's still a lab. Like if you've got forums in your deck, it's a lab if nothing else, and that maybe lets you play one more steward for coins instead of draw. So I could even take Village Green this turn.
Yeah, like buying 2 forums there. Yeah,
oh, just one forum. The log's a little bit wonky because of the plus buy.
Okay. Yeah, then I like that. I like the line. It works for me. Yeah. Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Also, SamE needs to draw both of these Fool's Goals, so
Yep.
one steward is draw 1 card, so it's also not. Yeah.
So as SamE,
this kind of delay, I'm expecting like a fairly high chance of a resign in the next couple of seconds.
that would not be unreasonable.
Like, what are the ways to come back here? I mean, Cider is a really lean, neat deck, so it's not like they can that at all. Yeah, it's literally impossible, I think, especially with the delayed steward.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't even think there's a 7-card hand Cider could have that would not result in them drawing deck.
Of course, Cider can consider trashing these coppers at some point to make it really sure, but the other forum gets
I think
a bit in the way.
Discard Forum Copper and hope to top deck the Forum?
Yeah, I think so. That would be my idea as well. And if you draw the Forum, okay, but yeah. Never mind, it was discarded 2 coppers, okay. Yeah.
I think this is worse because I mean, it maybe it depends on what you were going to do with the turn, but discarding Forum Copper, you would have ended up in this scenario anyway in the worst of the 50-50, which is if you find the Forum on top. I mean, maybe they don't plan on trashing the coppers, in which case it probably doesn't matter. It's unless you delay the Forum.
Yeah, I think you play the Forum here, right? Play the steward for coins. And, yeah, be fine with that.
I mean, it's not a big deal. No, even if you're not trashing the coppers, I think the other line is just like clearly, if marginally better, because it also nets you 1 more economy in the best case scenario if you need it. And again, a top deck market or a top deck forum is about as good as a delayed forum. Well, I guess if you don't plan on buying a village here, then delayed form is better. What did you buy? I have no idea what I want to buy here. That's surprising to me. Why are we buying province?
I mean, I think the 5 fool scrolls that he has are maybe like the top limit of what you can draw efficiently here. So,
I mean, there's plenty more draw left in the kingdom between the village green and the stewards. I don't think there's no pile out threat. Why are we? I hate these buys. I mean, Cider's still very winning regardless, but there's no reason why fleet. Why do you need fleet right now? It is. Steph assured me that Cider had outgrown the early greening phase. I have been lied to. Like, that's a set of buys that says, I'm worried my opponent is going to pile out next turn, which obviously is not the case.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's also...
Like, SamE's probably too behind for it to matter, but if I were a bit behind and I saw my opponent provincing early in this kingdom, I would be thinking about something like bishoping golds off of Treasure Trove to try to catch up.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
There's just so little, like, what are you getting out of provincing right now? It's not like you have an Explorer in your deck. Or the fleet. You know, the fleet is as baffling as the province is. I mean, fleet will be good here, but you don't need to buy it nearly this soon. Yeah, SamE's province, I also struggle to explain. Again, like I was literally just saying, I think if you're behind, the best hope you've got is playing for the long game, which I think means playing with Bishop.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that, like, in an equal game, Bishop would, like, be clearly better than Province or anything. But in a game where I'm behind, I'm looking for alt VP to give myself more time to catch up.
Yeah. Although I think even that line is really hopeless. So.
Yeah, I think SamE's probably behind enough here that any of these details is probably not going to matter to the final result. But you never know. Four markets by Cider. I mean, it seems reasonable enough. Wait, does Cider still not have a village in that deck? That line doesn't let you play both stewards the following turn, right? I would think something like adding a village green there would be better than the fourth market. Does the four market buy still allow you to delay a forum? I don't recall.
Okay. So the draw is kind of at the limit now, so...
Yeah. Maybe we go back to building? Or at least... I mean, you could buy, like, a province, I guess, and still add some village greens and such.
Yeah. Okay, Stewart gets delayed here, so we're going 2 coins here for drawing next turn. Seems fair. I mean, you can even... okay, you can double province village green Stewart, for example. I mean, it sounds fine to me.
That sounds all right.
I don't think you need... I guess could buy a forge.
I think A forge would not be unreasonable, but if I was buying a forge here, I think it would come in the place of the province, like the second province, rather than the steward and village green. Like something like province, forge, village green, steward sounds fine to me.
Mm-hmm. So, and we're still looking for the out for SamE.
It's in the bottom right.
Bottom right. Yeah, that's where I was looking at as well.
The you click the rewind button and rewind back to decision 1.
Start over, yeah.
I'm actually not even sure that rewinding would help SamE, because the problem is you just like deterministically got a worse seed here. Because even if you redid this whole game from the same seed, SamE, whatever he buys, is going to collide turn 4. And so starting over from decision 1 wouldn't really fix his problem.
Starting to at full score then, and
yeah.
buying a full score country.
Yeah, like you could marginally improve it, I think, but I don't think anything SamE buys looks particularly appealing when you know they're both in the turn 4 hand.
Yeah. Just open for on village green. Oh, there's the bishop. Too bad the provinces are gone.
Yeah, I mean, SamE has contributed to the province pile lowering. Bishop's going to be a little bit late. I mean, bishop is probably not enough regardless, given the disparity in early draws. Actually, I like Jackdaw and Steph's suggestion, which is if you know that buying 2 things causes them to collide on turn 4. Well, no, if you're just going to buy just a steward, that can't be better than just buying like steward village green, and then you just got like a free village green in your deck. I mean, it's not good no matter what you do. All right, they've jumped straight into the next game. And it's now 2-1 for Cider, breaking serve as player 2.
Yeah, that's means it's match point, right?
You are correct about that, yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about the steward nothing by influences your opponent's draws. Oh, that's what Steph meant with his second line. I read that as you don't just need a different shuffle, you need a different opponent. Like, hope that your opponent is someone other than Cider. What Steph was actually saying was it influences your opponent's shuffles, so maybe Cider doesn't get the good shuffle in the scenario we only buy 1 thing.
Okay. But yeah, that's it when you're a steward against 2 steward. I mean, not that blowout, maybe, but okay, so again, new cards are kind of fighting. I was hoping for like a split pile game.
Yeah, I just played 2 games of Cider a few hours ago. I guess he was practicing to warm up for league finals, and we were playing with the forts pile. And he commented in chat that he did not get the forts. Maybe he hasn't fully practiced with these allies yet. Both of those games resulted in him ignoring Garrison and then being like, "Oh shit," and then it went badly.
Yeah, but no, they didn't put it on a ban list. But some skirling here early within the copper list.
Yeah, so
early priests.
I wonder. You probably never want to trash the necropolis. Like often with animal fare, you just happily kill the necropolis turn 1 in an animal fare. But that's the only village here. I'm not sure how much we want the village, but we probably want the village.
Sammy missed 5 with the scroll.
Uh-oh.
This is again looking like an uphill battle.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between Sentry and Camel Crane is pretty dang big.
Yeah. Rough. But what is your game plan here? Do you play 4 bridge trolls?
That's a good question. You could play with just 2 bridge trolls, playing them both as Way of the Squirrel, which still gives you the cost reduction effect. That's probably not as good as 4 bridge trolls. I don't know. Something bridge troll related for sure. Maybe you play with 3 bridge trolls, squirreling 1 of them. I'm just trying to figure out how to get draw in that deck. There's Expedition maybe for draw. He's repeatedly by I don't know.
With the bridge troll as terminal to get some money.
Yeah. Yeah, this game's a little confusing. And the lack of terminals makes it really hard to build efficiently. Bridge Troll is clearly the best payload, but you're really sacrificing on other stuff to spin your terminal plays on Bridge Troll.
Here you could squirrel the bridge roll, right? And then buy another card so you can necro and then play 2 action cards next turn. Probably buy a card and expedition, I would suggest for Cider here.
Wait, squirrel... That is in lieu of squirreling the Bridge Troll or on top of squirreling it?
On top.
You're buying a card and an expedition and squirreling the Bridge Troll?
Yeah, so next turn I can play Sentry Oasis and then necro 2.
How are you getting 2 buys?
Oh, the Bridge Troll doesn't give you buy. That's a problem in my plan.
Yeah, if you squirrel the Bridge Troll, you get the below the line effect of the -1 cost, but you're ignoring all the top part of it.
The buy is not below the line, that's true. Yeah, so then I guess we'll just play it here, since we can... But it's also not Expedition Bridge Troll territory for buy, right? So...
Yeah, Cider's thinking about it. He plays it normally. A second Oasis. I don't think I love the second Oasis. I feel like Expedition is probably better than that.
I mean, it can... Yeah. Yeah, that didn't work, did it? Expedition cost 3, not 2 that turn.
Oh, you raise a good point.
But yeah.
So I guess it's probably better than nothing. Helps you traffic your
still
Sentry.
This is the first Sentry played or a second one, but really tough.
This does not look good for SamE. 3-0 and Bridge Trolls. What does SamE have exiled? Just the gold.
Just the gold. Okay. And it can gain double Bridge Troll, for example, here.
That's what I'm expecting.
That's still tough. Sentry again, bottom decks. Cider is at 3 Bridge Trolls in play now. But no squirrel, interestingly. Okay, wants the 4th one.
I was thinking you squirrel one of those 2 Bridge Trolls for the draw. I mean, this doesn't look bad either. And maybe buy a second Sentry.
And red.
Why not?
Coin token, negative coin token.
Well, he was able to afford a Bridge Troll, which costs the same thing.
Oh, you meant... Oh, I thought you were talking about SamE.
Oh, no. I meant for Cider's play, I was thinking in lieu of playing both Bridge Trolls normally, you squirrel one and then buy another Sentry. Hopefully get clean.
I like...
Sad Sentry.
Yeah, bit of a luxury problem. So, I mean, this is really tough because the Bridge Trolls, they make province cost 4, but then you somehow need to have money as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hand size is... Yeah, this is one of the uglier games. I think so far we had pretty nice kingdoms. But, yeah. This one doesn't inspire that much.
Yeah, this is what makes it confusing. So you could play with, like, you could Expedition the Bridge Trolls, but then you're only getting half as many Bridge Trolls in play. Sorry, not Expedition. You could squirrel the Bridge Trolls and you could have as many in play. Or you could put some of the Bridge Troll buys towards Expeditions. But then you need money for that. So, like, imagine you put golds in your deck. Each gold costs a buy, essentially, because you have to waste a buy an Expedition. But it would make gold effectively a laboratory. Imagine a lab that just had -1 buy on it. Because the gold would get you +2 draw at the expense of being 1 stop card. So you play 4 Bridge Trolls and you got 5 buys. and then you buy 2 or 3 expeditions. That's probably where this deck ends up going.
Yeah, it sounds.
Oasis is effectively a copper, if you think about its effect in the deck.
Yeah.
I
said to be the only non-terminal next to Sentry.
Yeah, I was thinking for Cider, I think he got a little bit too aggressive with the bridge trolls, and I would have wanted to expedition or something in one of those intermediate turns. Because once you draw your deck, like if you expedition to get a big hand size, then the benefit of the double aces is you can put like 2 cards in your discard, and then your Sentry can hit them, and then you get really clean. And then you add the golds, and then you're running. I think part of the problem here at Cider is you got this 1 Sentry and you didn't add enough draw to reliably line up the trash. And so now Cider is just taking random dice rolls on whether the Sentry reveals junk. And that's not going to get you clean too fast.
Yeah. So maybe there's a way back?
I mean,
saying there's a...
it unfortunately, SamE's deck doesn't look a whole lot better in terms of the thinning.
Yeah. So here, you would buy Sentry Expedition, or?
I'm pretty sure I'm clicking Expedition, and I have no idea what else I'm buying. Maybe Sentry, maybe Bridge Troll. Oh, he already bought 1 Expedition. Okay, second Sentry. I can get behind that. Sentry Horde money sounds terrible to me. Now, if you're asking, given the broader structure of these decks, could you throw a Horde in there? I'd say maybe. I mean, this deck probably wants a few golds anyway, and I could see adding a Horde to those purposes, not being crazy. But just straight up Sentry Horde money sounds very losing.
Yeah. I like using your valuable terminal space here.
Yeah.
And for sure was a nice candidate for...
I assume that, I mean, the terminal in that deck I guess could be Sentry, because you could just squirrel the Sentries once you're done trashing. But in any case, I don't think that deck does super hot. I don't know what you buy here is Cider. Seriously thinking about just double expedition. I feel like what Cider's deck has needed for a while is just enough expeditions to draw your deck so you can reliably trash the last few junk with the Sentry Oasis combo. And then you get on to greening.
3 Sentry. It's interesting.
3 Sentries. Yeah. I don't know. Expedition seems good to me. I could see Expedition in a Sentry.
Yeah, I think the Expedition is kind of required. Yeah, the state buy doesn't look that good, right?
I don't think there's any benefit to buying a state. And there's some marginal chance that keeping the hovel around lets you transfer for free later. And I guess there's some marginal chance that having that estate lets you 3-pile or something, but this game's not going to own 3 piles.
I don't see the first pile.
Yeah, is this game even going to have 1 pile? I mean, the province pile might be the first pile to empty.
Maybe Expedition. One day there's a counter on it, say, okay.
Oh yeah, the Expeditions could run.
Yeah. When the server can't handle it anymore, the best thing they can do is just buying Expeditions here.
How does the expedition art compare to the voyage art? Because voyage is very similar. Just got the one ship and in calmer waters.
Yeah, the expedition is quite beautiful.
I like the
Um,
expedition art a lot. Voyage is not bad, but I think I'm going to give the nod to expedition.
yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, those are pretty ships, and
Yeah.
I like that sundown, I guess. That is, yeah.
Expedition's got the more interesting color scheme. Voyage has just the nice, simple blue water brown ship, as I recall.
It's art. That's why.
Sad Sentry.
That's something.
I mean, this is the problem with just putting one Sentry in your deck and just playing it blindly into your shuffle, is you're going to get things like that. You either need a bunch of Sentries, or you need to get enough deck control to discard your junk to the discard of the Oasis and then hit it with Sentry. And they're not really doing either of those. It's probably time for this Camel Train to die, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say that.
SamE's thinking about it. Yep. You've killed the camel. Swashbuckler was unexpected.
Oasis combo.
Going for the treasure chest. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Oasis or Sentry. We got a lot of ways to line up the Swashbuckler activation, so there's something to be said for
Probably.
it.
Yeah, it's gonna be 4 turns in the perfect world.
Yeah. The downside of Swashbuckler is it means you're playing with half as many bridge trolls. 2 bridge trolls compared to 4 is a lot less cost reduction.
To be fair, SamE also has been playing with half as many bridge rolls.
Yeah. But now we're not likely to see those 3rd and 4th bridge trolls get bought if we got a Swashbuckler in our deck.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's a Sentry Swashbuckler or money. Gonna take us by surprise. Ooh, discards a bridge troll. That's interesting.
I mean,
guess.
who needs a bridge troll when you've got Camel Train?
Yeah.
I mean, if you removed bridge troll, I could easily see Swashbuckler being an important card in this kingdom.
You know, so Camel Train looks way better to go on an expedition with than the bridge troll. So
Yeah, thematically speaking, Camel Train can function as a desert guide for your expedition.
ooh. How do I get cash on those favors? For that guy.
We're thinking hard here, and I'm not sure why. Like, surely you discard Copper, play Necropolis, play Bridge Troll, and Squirrel the Camel Train. Maybe you'll surprise me and exile something? I don't see why you would. Double Expedition Sentry. Sounds reasonable to me. And you got money left over after that, don't you?
Yeah, 2 by
Would
another Sentry.
you like a bonus Sentry? Would you like a Swashbuckler?
Yeah. Swashbuckler for free with a Sentry. I mean, Cider looked. It felt like he was miles ahead very early, but now I'm actually less convinced that this is so easy because it wasn't. Yeah, okay. I guess maybe now these turns will come together with one squirrel, two expeditions.
Yeah. Yeah, I still think Cider's ahead, but I agree that it doesn't look quite as decisive. I mean, he's still got 4 bridge trolls, though, compared to 2. This is not game 1. This is, in fact, game 4.
Yeah. Maybe that was a subtle dig at their play speed. It's like,
Well, we got the stats on that now.
yeah.
I think someone suggested on the limited data we've got available that Cider takes 3 minutes longer per game on average than SamE.
Yeah. 25 minutes. So extrapolating from that, we should be in game 4, right? I think.
It checks out.
Seems right on time. Ooh, buys a gold. Gains a gold? Wait. Bought a gold. Huh. Gold is card. Ooh, no
That
swashy.
is sad. No activation.
Yeah. So, squirrel better than the plate swashbuckler? Yeah, right.
Yeah, squirrel and swashbuckler seems better to me. So what do you do with SamE? SamE is real constrained by the whole only having 2 bridge troll things. I don't know what the easy solution is to that.
What? What if they started just by...
Hey!
Oh, it was...
You jinxed him.
But maybe if it's just like single provinces from on for SamE and maybe Cider has a weird turn somehow. I don't know. Can the turn still be weird?
Honestly, the Horde is not the most ridiculous thing.
If Cider bottom decks an Acropolis, that can really mess up future turns, right?
The fact that Cider still has junk in this deck is just ridiculous. There should not be multiple coppers and a hovel and a camel train in this deck right now. If Cider loses this game, it is entirely because they just took way too long to get thin. Like this is what they should have been doing a while back. This is good. You draw your deck, you discard 2 things with Oasis, you trash with Sentry, and you just keep doing that. And then if they'd done that earlier, this deck would have kicked off much faster.
How many explorations?
Probably 2. I mean, let's see, how many stop cards do they have? They've got 1, 2, 3, 4 treasures, a bridge troll coming out of play. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with an Acropolis. If you expedition twice, that would draw your deck. Well, depending on how many new stop cards you add.
Yeah.
I think you could get by with 2 expeditions, maybe depending on what you buy.
Just 1 is asking for trouble, right?
Oh yeah, I don't think 1 is enough. Like you really got to be drawing your whole deck to be able to do that Oasis interaction, and like once you do that, it's smooth sailing from there on out.
At least the second Oasis is well on its way to become the worst card in the deck, I think. Only 1 copper and double it.
Yeah, Steph's got a point. I mean, you could overdo it with Oases and then be unable to trash, because if you had like every card in your hand, you would discard the Oasis and then pick it back up. So like 2 expeditions here should be fine. Maybe 3 would actually make it impossible to trash. So
what do you think about Province trashing Humble?
I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion on it either way. I'm not sure how much more you try to build here.
Yeah. I mean, with the Hubble trash, it's kind. Nah, I guess you could trash the Hubble next turn without getting a green card, but um,
I
I
was
don't know what cards you want to add now that make
I
your deck
I was thinking
make more money.
something like Sentry Horde would maybe be
Hmm,
alternative to Province. Uh,
I can see that.
N.A. Smith was going to commentate and then decided he valued having a normal sleep schedule more than that. I think N.A. Smith's plan for this match, which is at like 5 a.m. N.A. Smith time, was to just stay up until 5 a.m. rather than to wake up at 5 a.m. And then he realized that was not necessarily the best idea.
Young students.
Yeah,
Oh,
student on spring break. I can
oh,
certainly relate to the desire to stay up until the early hours.
yeah. So I'm inferring that you went to bed actually.
Yeah, I'm up nice and early with formerly a mug of coffee that has long since run dry.
Okay, so with the swashy, we are.
I like Heth's comment.
Yeah, and they are playing lots of treasureless decks, usually. Students.
I've I've found student really difficult. I think it's one of the newest cards that I'm taking the longest to really get a feel for, because like, oh, I trash a copper and then it goes right back on top feels like thinning so fast, but that really hits your price points, and I haven't figured out quite how to manage steward trashing effectively yet.
Yeah, I don't think I've bought the card yet. At least not post-release. So
The ally is
I'm a
good.
little bit.
That's an interesting take, Johns. I mean, it maybe depends on the ally. I didn't think the ally was the biggest thing factoring into student.
Do you think they'll treat us for some more allies matches for the expedition games?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What was that?
Do you think we'll see some extra allies in case this match is decided after the next one?
I would enjoy that. I don't know how
Me
likely
too.
that is, but it'd be nice if they did it.
Yeah,
I tried to get
I
N.A.
agree.
Smith to play our last match with extra allies, but he was being curmudgeonly and wanted to play with all the normal cards. And we rolled like multiple 3 ally kingdoms anyway. So, joke's on him.
Yeah. I mean, back when I was a League mod and Adventures was released, I forced, I think, an event, and at least one event in each of the championship games, like in a championship match.
I
And I
still
think the
remember.
same
Oh, go ahead.
happened with Empires as well, but
One of the very first League seasons I ever played was right when Menagerie was coming out.
okay.
And I remember playing with extra Menagerie. Actually, it might have been during the previews versus Warfrat. And at the time, I just thought Livery looked useless. I was like, Livery, this is like a mediocre card, whatever. And I ignored it in all my matches. And Warfrat kept buying it, and he kept kicking my butt with it. And that's when I realized Livery was a good card when I went 1-5, because Warfrat kept beating me with Livery.
Yeah. I have a distinct memory of playing the release Menagerie tournament and Warfred beating me up in the knockout
So
stage.
Warfrat was just really ahead of the game on Menagerie.
Yeah, um, I do remember that.
So we finally see someone not taking Silly Potta's advice. Cider took 2 duchies rather than 2
Oh, we saw that.
sentries, which I don't fully understand. Why do we need duchies this early?
Yeah, okay. So I thought there wasn't much fun game left, but is it going to get interesting again? 2 more turns to the treasure chest, by the way.
That'll be really the deciding factor. Not all the golds from Horde. The gold from treasure chest will be what SamE really needs.
Yeah.
We're really obliterating any sense of deck control here from both decks.
That's making a good point. Maybe SamE should have embraced the Archie game and with a Horde, and maybe could have gotten. Nah, I guess only ever has 3 buys with only 2 bridge rolls. But
do we trash the silver now? I think yes.
The silver, is it a new silver? Was it always there?
That's a good. Where did the silver come from? Gains silver.
Oh, yeah, it's 2 turns ago.
Turn 10 we bought or turn 11 we bought a silver.
I guess it was kind of free and
the natural time to buy a silver.
The silver passed the silver test.
I'm not sure it does. Your draw here is so limited.
Can the silver ever be better than silver?
That's the real reason you shouldn't buy silver. It's because silver never passes the silver test.
Yes. Lately. Because we saw the advancement of the Dominion strategy with a nothing test. And, yeah.
For context, for anyone who's unaware, so I think the classic Dominion strategy that has long since fallen by the wayside is the silver test is if you want to buy an action card, you have to decide, is this better than silver? And if not, well, why aren't you just buying silver? And the problem with that test is nowadays action cards pretty much always pass that test. And now I think the question is like the nothing test that you're suggesting is this better than nothing is usually the more reasonable thing to ask.
Yeah. I mean, the most reasonable thing to ask is usually what is the best card to buy, but that's really hard. That's a hard one to figure out. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, with these bridge trolls and massive cost reduction, we're seeing a lot of nothing tests here where you just got like, I could take 4 free armories if I wanted them for some reason, but you surely don't.
Yeah, they don't pass the silver test either, I think.
Yeah, armory would be pretty bad here.
Okay, so is this just full green now with 2 buys?
That does not seem... What do you do here? Province Duchy?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
5 card hands and no goals.
Ooh, that's a nice sentry reveal.
Oh yeah, trash both of them.
Be gone, Duchies.
Okay, so this turn will be 2 bridge trolls down again, so that's...
Do you give any consideration to squirreling the bridge trolls to have a huge next turn? Or maybe just getting 2 bridge trolls in play is better than having them squirreled. Maybe you squirrel 1 and play 1 to get the coin token effect.
The buys could be important, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
If there are Duchies left, I don't know. Do you know where the Swashbuckler is? Do we see Swashbuckler play this turn?
Let's find out.
I think we might.
It does seem that the Swashbuckler is down there, so I would expect it to be played with 2 sentries in hand.
Yeah. So that could actually get interesting here, right? SamE has a points lead.
Yeah, I think Cider has thrown a very clear lead early in the game, and now it is anyone's game. I'm pretty sure you're playing at least one of these bridge trolls normally. I think I value the attack a bit. I don't know whether squirreling the other one was better. Maybe that's what Cider was thinking about there for a while.
I also don't know if Cider is aware of the interaction. At least it hasn't been demonstrated yet that it was considered, of course.
Yeah, it might not even be on the radar. But, I mean, they did think a while before playing the bridge trolls, which I would assume suggests that they were thinking about squirreling it. Otherwise, you'd play the bridge trolls first and think about your bias like at this point.
That's fair. This could be Duchy double expedition. Is that good enough?
That sounds like a reasonable thing. That probably is the best thing, right? Triple Duchy.
That, and I wouldn't be so fair as SamE to take the penultimate province.
I could see triple duchy maybe. So if you take triple duchy, then you really just need the one province to win. You get 2 bridge trolls down, so you just got to find 6 money.
You've seen the 3 pile duchy estate and
Yeah. All right. So now it's do or die for SamE. I mean, SamE doesn't know that Cider's got enough money for a province in hand, but you should probably assume or play for the worst.
maybe he could have. He does know. Maybe even like the last 5 cards in the deck.
Oh yeah, maybe maybe you could track the deck well enough.
My expedition thing was assuming that the bottom cards aren't just a province.
Not having a bridge troll down definitely hurts SamE here. So you need to hit 14. This doesn't look like 14.
It looks a lot more like 11.
All right. Yeah, so Cider does manage to hold on to this one.
Yeah.
So then Cider is all but officially league champion now.
Yeah. Congratulations to them. That's really impressive feat in the third.
Yeah, they just won every season they've been in so far, straight from C to A champion.
Yeah. So now we do really need a S tier league then.
Yeah. I'm confused by SamE's double estate buy. I think you have to buy province there, because if your opponent gets even a single province, there's just no coming back. And so I think the correct play for SamE was to buy a province and then pray that Cider duds, which, in fact wouldn't have happened, but SamE didn't know that. All right, so 3-1 for Cider means that SamE cannot score more than 3 in this match, and a 3-3 means Cider wins the match. But I believe they will play out the final 2 games regardless.
Yeah. Oh, no extra allies, it seems.
Sad.
Oh, what's this?
No allies at all.
Sideways cards.
What have we here? The only village here is a singular ghost that you can gain off of your haunted mirror. So you're pretty terminal constrained.
Yeah.
Good trashing, and you get Governor, which is decent draw and payload. And imps look not bad.
Do they? Yeah, I guess scheme is nice. Caravan Guard, yeah, so you can play some.
Yeah, you probably just want a Caravan Guard, because if you have 2 Caravan Guards, the one in play always blocks you from imping the other one.
Oh.
I think something like getting maybe 2 imps would be nice, with intent to play one on scheme, the other on Governor, and then after that you can remake your Devil's Workshop up into Governor or something.
Yeah. Remake or Priest is another question. I kind of like the remake, to be honest.
Remake versus Priest. So Priest is a lot better at hitting price points. So you get an early Governor. Remake gets you thin faster and gets you these 3s, which are not bad. I would not mind having a Caravan or Scheme or 2 early on.
Yeah, 1 silver is also good with me to hit 5 next shuffle. Like almost guaranteed, I guess. Okay, it's even 2 silvers.
Yep. So did they both go with Remake? They did. Yeah, I don't know whether Remake or Priest is better. I think both of them. I would think for a while here they seem pretty committed to the Remake thing. A lot of people in chat seem to think Priest.
Yeah. I'm a bit surprised actually to see that much Priest support here. Seems like Remake seems really good to me here.
Everyone's missing the best way to trash here, which is to open with Devil's Workshop and then buy a copper and then gain a cemetery, which allows you to trash your entire hand.
Cemetery, yeah. SamE actually hit 5 right on a remake team opening.
That is actually preposterous.
Yeah. A little late, unfortunately, but
yeah. Now SamE's getting the good draws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a little unfortunate. I feel like this last two games, SamE just had much worse early shuffles, and nearly managed to come back on the last one, despite it. This will be a big trash. Gain a cemetery here. Oh, no, trash a copper. No, ew. Undo, stop. What are you doing, Sam? What? Ew. I don't like that at all. Trash a silver, gain a cemetery, and you can trash all those coppers.
Yeah, I think I like the line. So what turn do you play the turn after?
The remake, killing the cemetery up into governor.
Okay, fair point.
I think I would just trash both silvers into Cemetery Devil's Workshop and then be happy. And then probably the next turn, trash the Haunted Mirror, gain a ghost, trash the cemetery.
Wait, what? We bought a cemetery for the state. In the second remake. Okay, so gonna be remake into two governors, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cemetery, this isn't really thinning, but Cemetery is a much better remake target, so there's some logic to that.
I guess there also aren't that many super great cards that you want to buy. I guess could get another scheme, but yeah, probably not helping that much. Okay, so this looks like a ghost.
It does indeed.
And also an imp then. So that's nice. Oh. Also Cider said, yeah, the first governor now.
I really hope at some point in this game we get to see a remake get ghosted. That's always fun.
Oh, yes.
Probably you've got enough deck control to avoid that here, but if you got a remake in your deck, playing Ghost is real scary.
I mean, I assume the last games have been quite mentally taxing, so it's gonna be a bit more relaxed now. Some accidents might happen.
Yeah, I think they're playing a little bit faster, and that probably is because there's nothing on the line anymore.
Yeah.
Still a lot of junk in SamE's deck, and it didn't need to be.
Okay, is this another draw? No. Okay, gains governor. Okay, but
this is worse. Why not just if you draw there, you've got a cemetery that you can trash into governor. You could trash cemetery into governor, silver into cemetery, trash all the coppers. I don't know.
This could be David's workshop trash as well, right? Okay, but it isn't.
How many imps does SamE have? Just the one?
One, yeah.
I think I'd like to play the Devil's Workshop one more time and then kill it. Oh, okay, apparently two more times, because it looks like he's not getting an imp this time.
Yeah, that's what I meant, because this turn it's the team, I guess.
He could have gained an imp if he'd drawn on and remade better targets.
Oh, yeah, true. Always great when the best buy for 4 is just a remake target. And
yeah.
Nothing else interesting going on.
Although, if I'm just gaining a random remake target, I feel like remake is not that card. I think any of the 4s is probably better than that. Just because if you just want a dummy 4-cost card, the other ones aren't random risks in a scenario where you draw a ghost and otherwise haven't drawn your deck.
And it could second Devil's Workshop could be good for one turn as well.
Yeah.
I agree with that reasoning, but
yeah, I think Devil's Workshop or Priest is probably the best 4s to gain as targets.
I would. Can you get the last governor here somehow? Yeah, right.
One
lot of cards, yep. I think, but
looks like we can just buy it.
And also seems to have exceeded the 2 gains required for the imp.
Indeed.
Would be funny if it gave you an imp for each additional gain.
Extra schemes here would be great, but I don't think we're going to see them just because they're not easy to acquire and not really worth going out of your way for. Like in my ideal deck, I would have 2 imps and a scheme top decked. I don't think it's worth getting there if the schemes just didn't end up in your deck naturally somehow. But that would be really nice if you could do it. Yeah, your opponent should be able to see what you scheme because you discard your cards one at a time, and then they would see which one you ended up putting on top.
Okay, so now Cider's also fairly clean, but only has 4 governors and 0 goals, so yeah. I still prefer SamE's position.
Yeah, SamE seems to be in the better position to me.
Top decking remake is good for if your opponent treasures with governor. I think that's the reasoning there. So yeah. Can you play your remake here? I guess yeah, Devil's Workshop and Copper, right?
Yeah. I really want to play an imp so that I can scheme an imp, and so that's another reason to consider playing remake. You're playing the imp anyway.
Yeah. Ooh, you need to. Can you somehow discard an action card for Ghost? Oh yeah, you need to play the Devil's Workshop, so the Ghost hits an imp, and you also don't need to top deck it.
That is a little awkward, yeah. You could no, I was gonna say trash the copper and gain a moat, but the copper is probably important as a remake target. Well, maybe you could. No, I was gonna say remake the imp, but then you've only got 1 imp.
And maybe it's also just not playing the remake by province here, and then.
Is there an action card down there? Oh, you're just getting a new imp. I see.
Yeah, new imp. I would think. Maybe this imp gets trashed. Yeah. What do you get? Caravan Guard maybe, or is it?
I think my vote is scheme.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a second Caravan Guard. I don't think. I think.
I mean, actually, I like this silver because then you can guarantee the ghost hits the imp. So now it could hit the scheme.
It's not awful if the ghost hits the scheme, but yeah, I mean, yeah, ideally the ghost hits the imp.
Yeah, just hit. No worries at all. Okay, so this game shouldn't last that long anymore.
Yeah, I mean, governor games tend to push early provincing a lot more than your average engine.
Yeah, I would expect one more turn for Sam. Question is whether it ends or it just puts. Yeah, okay. If Cider starts greening, then yeah, 3 provinces should be.
I think Sam can do triple province here.
That. Yeah. And below average game and time for the 2 players. So here we have. It's only 7, right?
1 coin short.
But there are a bunch of governors down there, so.
Yeah, I would draw one.
So
now we've got it. With a bonus duchy and a state if you want them.
Duchy. Yes, I want it. And an imp. To screw with the imp win rates. Ooh, the cemetery into duchy. That's worse than silver into cemetery. But
in terms of just scoring extra points, you're scoring one point fewer there. Not that it's going to make a difference, but yeah, you go, SamE. That's a good question.
Someone whispered into his ear. Um,
Come on, Cider, you know you want to. Yeah, there we
yeah.
go. Okay.
Hooray. Something for the fans.
All right, let's see what new cards we got. All right, we got Marquee. Draws up to 10 cards in hand and gives you plus buy. Good terminal draw card, but doesn't stack with itself very well. We got Sycophant. What was that? Sycophant, nice and cheap. I think its on-play effect is not stellar, but you get 2 favors whenever you gain or trash it, which in this kingdom would let you top deck stuff. That's an okay effect. Not the best use of Sycophant, but not the worst either. We got Importer, which means you're starting with 5 favors total. Because in an average game with a favor, you start with 1 favor. Importer lets you gain 5s. And we got Courier.
A bonus ally.
Yeah, we do have two total liaisons. And then Courier is like a weird little peddler mountain village combo.
Yeah. And I got my wish for a split pyre. Unfortunately, it was an Empire's one.
Yeah, so opening Importer makes sense here because of Order of Astrologers, which will let you top deck it. Importer is a lot better turn 3 than turn 4. Because if you open it and you find it turn 3, you gain the 5 cost turn 4, and then the 5 and the Importer go back in your shuffle. Whereas if you see Importer turn 4, both the 5 and the Importer miss the shuffle, and then you're not seeing them until like turn 7. So the fact that you can reliably guarantee you see Importer turn 3 here makes it a much better open than usual.
What else? I already played an Importer Spice Rush. But with that Duke, it wasn't that good. But
yeah, I think Importer in the general case is pretty weak, and the top decking is what's making it better than usual here. I'm actually pretty surprised they opened double Importer. I thought Importer Courier seemed good. Like, here's a great scenario. You find Importer turn 3, Courier turn 4. You gain a 5 cost, and then the Courier can immediately play it.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Plus, Courier's not really any better if you see it with the Importer, because you're probably not playing it. You can discard it for Arena, I guess. Right, they're playing this real fast. I haven't actually fully followed what all they're doing.
Yeah. It's still a while till we see some villagey things, right? So,
yeah, there's no villages here until 2 piles empty, and then Paddock becomes a village.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, the settlers are getting kind of low.
Oh, actually, I forgot bustling villages is a thing. You have a good point there.
Sycophant. Also not a card I expected here.
Yeah. Sycophant does not seem intuitive to me.
No, you don't need the favors, at least not yet.
I could see getting Sycophant at some point in this game, like late in the game, getting a top deck and apprentice on your final turn and then blow up a province or something sounds great. But by that point, maybe you're just top decking a bunch of forces with a Paddock anyway.
Yeah. Maybe you just blow up the Sycophants for extra favors to always stack you.
The issue is, like, at what point in the game is that good? By the end game, you're top decking horses anyway, so you've already got the reliability. In the early game, it sounds nice, although maybe adding Sycophant is too much of a downside to your deck to justify it.
You need to generate favors, right? Oh, no, you mean you can top deck horses the old school way, like triggering a shuffle.
Yeah.
Menagerie people would do that won't use Order of Astrologers.
They're playing this awfully fast. So we've got to the bustling villages already, but correct me if I'm wrong, each of them only has a single terminal, despite us already taking bustling villages.
Yeah. Well, 2 now, right? So now we can hammer some paddocks. No.
Why are these villages in the deck? Am I missing something here?
I mean, it's a To be fair, it can be an important split, right? If you just have one bustling village, your opponent can do.
I don't like by the time you've lost the bustling village split, your paddocks are already non-terminal at that point.
Okay, look at that. We
I
got four
do,
villages.
remember how at game one you were commenting on A-leaguers being the anti-village idiots?
Yeah.
It seems that may have been mistaken. Why they bought 5 bustling villages when they each have a single terminal to play per turn? What?
I
or
mean, how often do you get
or
to see a bustling?
gained? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was overkill in the extreme. I don't like that.
Maybe it's nice. One side covered. Yeah, gonna play with them for one. I mean,
Yep.
I don't hate it. Can buy lots. I guess yeah, terminals are kind of hard to come by, right? Marquee, two of them are kind of nice, but then it's fairly difficult to do something with the extra actions. I
Yeah,
can say as
yeah, like how many terminals are they planning to play here? Realistically, I can see playing Marquee is a pretty good card here. Nice little synergy with Settlers and Bustling Village, discarding and picking back up. But like
that's
that's
fine.
you don't need to play a million Marquees. Your paddocks are now non-terminal. You're gonna play like 5 importers or something. I don't.
Maybe Sycophant discard Marquee, draw them back up as your budget storeroom.
I'm a little perplexed at the rate at which we snapped up those bustling villages. I disagree, Furkel. I do not think taking 3 bustling villages first and then taking paddocks is a reasonable order at all.
It's kind of funny that the paddocks aren't really that good until the pile is gone, but when
Yeah.
you
Yeah, like if you
yeah,
want to take a bustling village and then start taking paddocks, that seems reasonable to me. You got an importer on your deck, but 3 of them.
this is gonna be a 3 importer turn. Or who has
I
3 importers?
I also disagree with Person Man. Taking 4 does not seem good either. Like if my opponent took 1 bustling village and started taking paddocks, and then I emptied the bustling village pile for them, I've effectively given them villages rather than denying them villages because now their paddocks are non-terminal.
I just realized one could have forced one new split pile in each game, and then would have had 6 games.
Oh, that would have been nifty. Are there 6 split piles?
Yeah, in at least in
Oh, that would work
we
out
got a po
nice.
we got a potion. Ah yeah, now we're doing paddock vineyard stuff.
Yeah, I like Vineyard here. In a world where we have more paddocks, which probably happens eventually, you end up with a ton of horses, which definitely buffs up Vineyards a ton.
Yeah, do we want another buy then? Maybe spices or
Uh,
marquee.
More plus buy seems eminently reasonable to me.
Um,
There's a lot of marquees
Sam,
in total. I guess it's because they had a bunch of bustling villages, and so marquee was easy to add. But I didn't expect them to have 2 marquees.
yeah.
2 marquees good. I mean, my ideal deck, I think, was just more heavily paddocks and spices, and then the draw provided by marquee seemed non-essential. So I would have thought just like a marquee.
Oh, interesting. Sycophant bustling village settler.
The classic sycophant marquee draw to X deck, where X is 10.
Oh, spices are gone. I guess playing that marquee is
Why do we?
enough.
What was their hand state like that they needed to trash spices? That was surprising to me.
Yeah, me too.
What do we need? This is a lot of overdraw. Oh no, I guess not a lot of overdraw. We had to pitch it all. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of overdraw in the sense that you need to discard it.
I don't recall what their
Like,
hand looked like when they trashed spices. I saw that and I was surprised by it. Maybe there was something necessary that made that justified in the moment.
oh yeah, that would be nice to trigger the shuffle now, right? With all those cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one settler in hand would have been better. But yeah, it's not a sycophant to top deck them anyway. It's the allies' way to top deck cards. The shuffle trigger thing.
Yeah, I'm guessing the sycophant is mostly motivated by. Actually, probably apprentice is what you top deck to avoid a dud.
Yeah.
I think
Mm-hmm.
it's not clear to me what you top deck actually. Like
Boston Village and Marquee.
oh yeah, you could top deck two things. Yeah, I didn't account for that. Yeah, Boston Village Marquee does seem pretty clear then. I still don't have a good sense of which allies you can do more than one of per turn and which ones are capped at one. I've made that mistake a number of times.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you for every one of them either.
I remember that I played a game where I was building up to this beautiful Family of Inventors mega turn, only to realize that yeah, it does not work like that.
Yeah. I mean, that one would probably be pretty busted because
Yeah.
I'm gonna make 3 piles cost 0 now. So, where's the plus buy for SamE? Okay, there it is.
And just looking at the state of these decks, Cider seems to be extremely in the lead to me.
Is it because of the bustling villages?
I can't imagine that it is. They've been playing this very fast, and so I don't even know what all the precise reasons, whether they were draws or buys, as to why Cider is ahead. But they've ended up being ahead as a result.
So yeah, do you want a potion for SamE?
Potion sounds nice. I mean, Resign does not sound unreasonable. I don't like Province all too much.
It's also kind of interesting to me that the arena points aren't lower yet.
Yeah, that's actually shocking. Like, how do you not end up with like a random horse on hand?
I mean, last time, for example, Cider discarded 20 action cards, right, and kept a copper reward. So I don't know, maybe the copper was required, but
Yeah, I don't remember
probably.
what they ended up buying. No, they definitely didn't. They bought like a sycophant, I think, and I'm pretty sure they had money left over and could have left an action on hand to discard to arena.
Oh, the paddock is going.
Goodbye,
That's
Paddock.
You would have trashed the bustling village, right?
Just for the satisfactory feeling it would give me.
Yeah, sending a message.
Yes.
But yeah, here we see the sycophant settlers. Gee, so maybe that's bustling villages draws more than one card, right? If you discard coppers.
It is a bit of a lab if if you
Yeah.
manage to.
What an
discard
amazing
it.
discount benefit that is called sycophant.
So yeah, Cider played that particular last few cards pretty well. With Marquee, I believe the optimal number of cards to have in hand, counting the Marquee before playing the Marquee, is 6. Because you have 6 cards, including the Marquee. You have 5 cards after the Marquee, which draws you up to 10, and that's just like as much as Marquee can reasonably draw. Obviously, it's not bad if you play it with more cards, but then you're getting less total draw out of it because you end up discarding. If you play it with fewer, you're just not drawing enough. And so I think the play Importer first, then play Marquee. It seemed like a conscious choice to have 6 cards in hand when you play the Marquee to maximize the efficiency of the draw. Having more than 5 is better in terms of sifting, but less good in terms of total draw that you're getting out of it, like in terms of amount of increasing your hand size. It's clearly not the same total draw. Like imagine you had 10 cards in hand, and then you play Marquee, and then it's just like a ruined market. Well, no, you have to have 11 cards in hand, I guess, including the Marquee.
Yeah, I don't think the efficiency matters. If you can only play it once, right? You don't exhaust the number of cards you draw with one Marquee. So
if like the goal is to get some number of treasures, for example, into your hand, and then there's other stuff you want to do like gaining and playing things, playing the Marquee at exactly 6 cards I think is kind of important. I mean, like 5 or 7 is not making a huge difference, but that's what you're shooting for in terms of maximizing total draw of your deck.
we just imported a potion, so going to need some.
I like the theming of Importer in that like it gets you the card, but at a delay, like when you're importing something rather than building it in your own workshop.
Oh, nice. And you could even play the potion with your courier.
That's clever.
We don't. Courier is carrying horses. How is that thematic?
What? Okay, well, the theme only goes so far.
It's nice to give the horse some rest. So we kind of want to get to the potion, right? So I guess we can top deck it, right? And then draw it with the settlers. And then we have a bunch of forces in deck.
I like that idea a lot. Nice little use of Order of Astrologers.
But we don't. We just draw through with all.
Yeah, wait, what?
Yeah. I mean,
maybe SamE forgot about Order of Astrologers, but like it prompts you, doesn't it? It's just there's like a little button.
Yeah. It gives you arena points, so that's something, I guess. Yeah, assuming he already set out to play, his thought process probably was something like, okay, I need to play one paddock first to
That's
draw
fair.
all these cards.
And maybe this order was needed to get arena. I could see that.
Yeah, that was definitely needed for that. I guess you could, yeah. Unless you wanted to spend 2 favors. So, Cider can't quad. Can he end the game? Paddocks are basically empty, but it's not good enough, right? Emptying spices, also hard. So
I don't have a remotely informed opinion here. I don't have a good sense of what's in Cider's deck right now. Spices Potion. I like that idea, I think.
here we'll see some Sycophant Marquee synergy.
Yeah, I think Orange Person's got it right as far as the interaction between Marquee and other draw cards.
I mean, playing one lab first is pretty good to me. Then you have 5 cards ahead playing the Marquee, and you draw the maximum.
Well, in that case, the Marquee Lab and 4 other cards would leave you with 5 cards in hand.
Okay. I assumed a 5-card hand, not a 6-card, yeah. That happens sometimes, of course. Okay, so you could top deck the 2 spices if you wanted to. Does that any good?
That's a good question. No coppers. One copper has been trashed.
Yeah. Maybe what really decides the game is who has more importers.
The importer split is key.
I mean, I think SamE's leading 3-2. And if Cider can't win here, it doesn't look so bad for SamE, I think. Especially because Cider can't double vineyard here, so his scoring is duchy or province, and province is kind of difficult. I guess 1 is fine, but 2 is suicidal.
Can SamE hit 24? I honestly don't know. He's got 2 importers in play, which gaining 2 spices adds 8 money to the deck. So yeah, probably you can't afford a province here as Cider. It's not obvious to me that you lose to triple province because of vineyards.
I mean, if we went back in time and imported a potion instead of a spice,
yeah, I think if he'd imported potion, he'd be in better shape. It seems possible at the very least that he still beats triple province even with this hand, though.
Yeah, I have to say, from this point where we are now, it seems like Cider is kind of losing.
Yeah, what happened here? Because I mean, maybe the earlier evaluation was just incorrect. I'm not going to say I have a great grasp of what's happened in this game, but it did seem like Cider was way ahead. Yeah, and now it looks like Cider is about neck and neck.
Yeah. The courier or the extra importer are the 2 candidates I can come up with.
The courier is kind of nice. A lot of nifty little interactions here.
Oh yeah. For example, Cider also trashed a paddock with Apprentice, for example. That was.
Oh yeah, Cider's been trashing a lot of expensive things with the.
Apprentice. I mean, paddock is like really premier card, right? In your vineyard deck.
Oh yeah, paddock. You also get spices. A lot of stuff getting trashed.
So this feels like a turn where you can get arena points at least.
Yeah, for sure. I presume you trash a... Actually, is it clear that you trash a copy here? Maybe the coin matters, and maybe the draw doesn't matter enough.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing I would be too exhausted to calculate.
Oh, yeah, given the rest of these cards in the bottom, I actually like this play a lot.
25. Ooh, that's... Oh, it was fairly close to 32, maybe.
Yeah, not so...
We've talked about that.
That might explain why Cider took double spices. Maybe they hadn't counted the deck exactly and just assumed that double spices was enough to get into 32 at the start of this turn.
It's also really hard to calculate, right, with all the sycophants running around.
This is actually a kind of wild number of sycophants to play on your turn. Discarded 12 total cards while drawing deck.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very budget storeroom sycophant marquee thing.
Yeah, so Cider has no importers coming coming into play. I don't know how to phrase that. They have no importers down, which is a little awkward because I mean you probably want to buy potions to take the vineyards. Although SamE could be cheeky if you buy any additional potions and gain 2 potions off of his importers and then take 3 vineyards, making your potion moot.
I mean, if you gain 2 paddock, SamE, can he just like end on sycophants? Okay, I guess he's down on points, so yeah, maybe tough with buys. Could also empty duchies, maybe.
I don't know how many gains SamE has. Do you?
No. It's game 6. I'm just team. Okay, we saw province. The last 8 coins. So that points towards double spices, and off we go to 24.
Yeah, I feel like SamE should just win here. 24 seems imminently doable.
trash in a province even, right? Yeah.
Yeah, trash and province would be totally fine.
I guess you would need one more. Yeah, I guess you would need a vineyard then. Okay. Chat agrees they don't like the province. I disagree strongly with John's that Cider was favored or very favored. I think his position was kind of tough there.
It at the very least wasn't clear to me who was in the lead until this province buy.
But the two importers coming in from SamE and none from Cider.
Yeah.
I think SamE had a lot of flexibility. He could have gotten double potion here if they needed to go into vineyards, but so they could have done a lot of things or whatever was required. Okay, this is interesting. Can you just top trash importer and then top deck one of the horse or as many? I guess we can play Paddock in Korea in one.
Play Paddock first is kind of cute. Now, I guess you got to be a little. No, you only got one vineyard. I was gonna say be careful about how many horses you play because you lose vineyard points. But with a single vineyard in deck, that's not all too important.
Okay.
All right. Yes. Not that there was anything on the line, but SamE comes back to at least score one final point.
Yeah. Congratulations again. Yeah, to Cider01 for winning the season 50 championship.
And impressive run so far. No matter who won this, we were going to have a brand new league champion. This is Cider's first victory. And also, both of these players were actually the two people who had just gotten to A-League this season.
Oh.
So they joined A-League and then immediately made it to finals, which is also impressive. Yeah. Anyways, that's the match. Thanks for commentating.
Yeah, thanks to you too. And see you all in the next season, which will start in a week, I would think. 1.5 weeks.
I wish I had any idea.
Sign up for that, and we'll see you there.
Adios.